We found out that there were a lot of porky pies probably told to the royals and even to Harry when they met her, and in order to cover up.
The 27th of January, 2026, London. In a week already saturated with headlines, a royal scandal of unprecedented proportions has just erupted, drawing shock, condemnation, and immediate strategic responses from inside Buckingham Palace. Multiple high-level sources confirm that Meghan Markle has allegedly attempted to blackmail the British royal family. The aim to force her way back into the royal fold. The tactic, a premeditated media threat involving falsified footage targeting Lady Louise Windsor, 22, and her longtime boyfriend, tech investor Felix Clamp. The timing is no coincidence. This news breaks just 48 hours after Netflix quietly placed Meghan's upcoming documentary series on indefinite suspension, citing content integrity concerns. Simultaneously, at least 3 top-tier staffers resigned from the Arkewell Foundation, including its chief strategy officer and head of legal affairs, fueling speculation of internal collapse. But what truly stunned royal watchers was the emotional toll on Lady Louise Windsor, a rising royal figure known for her discretion and quiet loyalty. According to palace aides, Louise has reportedly gone into complete media blackout, suspending her social media accounts and cancelling all upcoming public engagements, including a much-anticipated joint appearance with Duchess Sophie. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh and mother to Louise, issued a TUR private memo to royal advisors. This is no longer a feud. This is a direct threat to the character of a young woman who has done nothing but honour her family. If you can say and the bill. Palace insiders say Princess and Louise's aunt, and known for her steely discipline, immediately convened a late-night meeting with the royal household's legal and intelligence teams. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine is said to be coordinating closely with Anne and Sophie, offering full support to Louise while preparing an institutional response. One insider described the trio as a united front of protective maternal strength and institutional strategy. He didn't. According to exclusive briefings from a legal intermediary close to the matter, Meghan issued her demands through a confidential email sent on January 23 to a representative of Princess Anne's security liaison team. The email, marked private time-sensitive, reportedly included a clear ultimatum. Unless the royal family restores my access to VIP security protocol, reinstates patronage privileges, and authorizes public support to correct defamatory narratives, I will proceed with my own public corrections, including unreleased footage involving Lady Louise Windsor and her companion, Mr. Clamp. The footage referenced is now believed to be a doctored video portraying Felix Clamp in what appears to be an illicit rendezvous with an unnamed individual. The video, according to sources who've reviewed a private briefing, is extremely convincing, but has been deemed synthetically generated with clear intention to mislead. The alleged threat gained public dimension when excerpts from Meghan's pre-recorded January 25 interview with US podcaster Talia Rowe were leaked ahead of the planned March 1 podcast premiere. In the footage, Meghan smiles tightly before stating, "There are people in that institution, young women, even who've been protected for far too long. While others were sacrificed. Maybe it's time the world sees what happens when the mask slips." The chilling subtext sent royal commentators into overdrive. The hashtag number Protect Lady Louise trended globally within hours. By morning, over 130,000 tweets had been posted under variations of number threatens Louise and number royal strike back. A viral post by former royal correspondent Georgia Clean read, "This is no longer about Meghan versus the firm. This is now a targeted smear campaign against Lady Louise. If this isn't blackmail, what is?" Sources close to Arkewell say Meghan has been desperate for institutional relevance as brand deals waver and public sentiment turns hostile. A scathing article in The New Yorker last week titled "The Sussex Collapse, Power, PR, and the Fall of a Duchess" alleged that Meghan's deal with Spotify fell through due to concerns over narrative control, while her children's book project with Penguin Random House has been frozen indefinitely. Security costs are also mounting. A declassified financial review reveals Meghan and Harry's annual security budget exceeds $94 million, with multiple unpaid invoices now flagged across 2 California-based firms. "She's boxed into a corner," says UK security analyst Philip Wesson. "She's trying to leverage the only thing she has left, access to institutional secrets and reputational explosives." Princess Anne, the palace confirms, is closely monitoring the situation and has ordered a rapid forensic audit of the alleged video materials. High Court barristers have been mobilized. A source close to Anne says her stance is clear. No capitulation to blackmail. If Meghan releases the footage, we'll pursue full civil and criminal prosecution globally if needed. Duchess Sophie has reportedly instructed private investigators to trace the origin of the doctored video. Catherine is coordinating a reputational defense strategy to prevent the media from running with a false narrative before the podcast airs. Louise, meanwhile, is said to be shaken but resolute. In faction, set of applied intuent IT time 1770. Lady Louise, described as distraught but defiant, is receiving round-the-clock emotional support at Bagshot Park. Sophie has cancelled all her own engagements to be with her daughter. Meanwhile, Catherine and Anne prepare a joint public appearance to denounce reputational attacks and stand united. What was pitched as a soulful conversation on womanhood and resilience quickly morphed into one of the most strategic and some say dangerously calculated media operations Meghan Markle has ever attempted. The interview, filmed on January 25 at the Belvedere Hotel in Santa Monica, was the centerpiece of Meghan's upcoming podcast relaunch. Backed by a $4.20 $2 million production deal with Goldwire Studios titled Reflections. The show was expected to debut its first episode in March, but early leaks have set the palace and the media on fire. Insiders now confirm this episode was not just a tell-all, it was a trigger. In the edited 28-minute segment previewed privately by executives and several high-profile guests including fashion executive Genevieve Dorsey and Hollywood activist Louis Enkes, Meghan delivered lines with calm precision, but beneath the polished performance was a clear shift in tone. At the 19-minute mark, she leaned forward and said, "It's easy to label a woman difficult when she protects herself, but what about those who hide behind royal walls and create myths out of fragility? I'm not the only one who's seen what goes on behind the curtain. I just might be the only one brave enough to say it." While no names were directly mentioned, body language analysts and royal commentators agree that the target was unmistakable. Lady Louise Windsor and her inner circle. A few minutes later, Meghan adds cryptically, "When people see certain truths, they won't blame the outsiders anymore. They'll ask why the silence was so well funded." The reference to funded silence is being interpreted as a veiled attack on both Princess and Duchess. Sophie accused indirectly of using royal resources to shield Louise's reputation. Palace insiders confirm the royal household has obtained a forensic summary of the falsified video. Meghan is rumored to possess code named Project Oakage in legal filings. The video allegedly shows Felix Klamp, Louise's longtime boyfriend, in an underground bar in Berlin engaged in what appears to be inappropriate physical contact with a red-haired woman in a back room. But Felix was not in Berlin at the time the footage was supposedly recorded. Metadata attached to the clip shows frame duplication and pixel patterning consistent with synthetic composite editing. Timestamped GPS data from Felix's smartwatch places him at a closed-door pitch event in Cambridge that same night. Royal Legal Counsel, Sir Alaric Thorne, has already filed a preliminary injunction request with the High Court's Privacy Division. A royal IT specialist described the fake video as deepfake 3, maliciously advanced, nearly indistinguishable from reality. "It's not about proving something is true," said behavioral media strategist Dr. Lysandering. "It's about planting doubt." Meghan doesn't need people to believe the video. She just needs them to question Louise's virtue long enough for her own brand to regain sympathy and visibility. That sympathy may be financially necessary. With Netflix suspending Meghan's docu-series, Spotify not renewing its contract, and Arkwell's leadership resigning en masse, industry insiders say Meghan's brand equity is rapidly evaporating. Now, Devon and X-Fitted, an advertising report from marketing firm Credo Group shows Meghan's approval rating in Q1 2026 has plummeted to 23% among UK and Canadian audiences and only 31% in the US, a 17-point drop from last year. The royal counteroffensive is moving swiftly and subtly. Princess Catherine has quietly commissioned a media audit into the distribution patterns of the leaked clips, reportedly seeking to trace who authorized the leak to Goldwire Studios' distribution arm. A private security firm specializing in media infiltration tracking has been contracted. Princess and is coordinating legal filings with cyber forensics expert Dr. Irene Kandel to identify the origin server of the manipulated footage, and spokesperson issued a rare on their statement. The Princess Royal has zero tolerance for falsified reputational attacks. Any material deemed defamatory will be met with swift judicial action across jurisdictions if necessary to cease nationside. In 24, Duchess Sophie has paused her humanitarian tour of Ghana and returned to the UK to be with Louise. Royal press officers confirm she held a 90-minute closed-door session with the Queen's Counsel on the morning of January 26. Why hasn't Meghan backed down? The answer may lie in the podcast production clause revealed by leaked contract documents between Goldwire Studios and Archwell Audio dated the 14th of October, 2025. The clause specifies failure to deliver the 4-episode podcast series by the 15th of March, 2026, including at least one segment addressing personal narrative reform, will result in immediate clawback of advance and reputational mitigation penalties up to $3.8 million USD. Translation: if Meghan doesn't deliver drama, she pays the price. Yet, behind the scenes, Meghan is reportedly terrified of what the palace may still be hiding. One source close to her legal team revealed she didn't expect Catherine, Anne, and Sophie to respond this aggressively. Now she's caught between contractual fire and institutional firepower. And in fact, in 24, as news of the threats broke, headlines dominated international coverage. The Times: Meghan's reckless return to the throne, she burned. Meghan Markle Vanity Fair. How the royals are quietly dismantling Meghan's narrative, one podcast at a time. The Number Team Louise movement has now spawned over 70,000 pieces of UGC content across Instagram and TikTok, with creators rallying in support of the young royal. This isn't about Meghan anymore, said user at Tea with Tiaras. This is about a woman threatening a girl to save her collapsing brand. With legal pressure mounting, the Arkwell PR team has begun a carefully crafted sympathy campaign, pushing curated photos of Meghan with her children and emphasizing themes of healing, resilience, and truth. Because that was find it, forget, but beneath the glossy thumbnails is a woman allegedly backed into a legal, financial, and reputational corner, and willing to burn what's left of the royal bridge to survive. It was just after 7:45 a.m. when King Charles III, still in his Balmoral wool robe, received the encrypted morning dispatch from the Royal Legal Advisory Group. The subject line: actionable evidence, potential malicious deepfake attempt by Duchess of Sussex by Jivan Dvar AM. Charles had summoned Lord Alastair Pembroke, the Lord President of the Privy Council, to his private study at Clarence House. According to a source present, Charles said only one sentence before signing the emergency directive. "This is no longer about Harry. This is institutional sabotage. Act accordingly." The document King Charles reviewed, known internally as Brief LX42B, was prepared by a joint task force including the Royal Media Integrity Office, the Queen's Council on Digital Forensics, MI5 Psychological Threat Evaluation Unit. The brief outlined 5 major risks: deliberate use of synthetic media, deep fakes to fabricate scandal, targeted character destruction of Lady Louise Windsor to trigger public mistrust, strategic release windows aligned with RQL's financial deadlines, manipulation of court sympathy to revive Sussex legal leverage, monetization of slander under podcast protection in U.S. media law. The report concluded with a chilling assessment. The Duchess of Sussex may be engaging in coercive media warfare to extract institutional leverage and public sympathy regardless of veracity. Following the brief, King Charles authorized the reactivation of Emerald Shield, a legacy palace protocol designed for containment of reputational threats using royal image takedown enforcement, cross-jurisdiction legal action, US-UK, counter-narrative content production partnerships, digital forensic tracing of edited media assets. Clarence House also instructed royal legal teams to explore civil and criminal remedies against any distribution partners knowingly hosting maliciously manipulated material. Insiders confirm Princess Anne, already spearheading digital integrity defenses with her team, was privately thanked by Charles for her foresight. She is said to have warned months earlier that Meghan might escalate to reputation hostage-taking. Prince William, meanwhile, was tasked with coordinating protective alignment measures for Louise, Sophie, and any young working royals who could become targets of media destabilization. A source close to William said, "William wasn't angry. He was surgical. If she touches Louise," he told aides, "she forfeits all future negotiations." Thanks for watching. Behind the palace walls, coordinated calls were placed to Netflix Legal Affairs, Spotify Trust and Safety Division, Arkwell's New York media agent, Unren Goldman Sachs Trust Oversight Team regarding dormant Sussex charitable accounts. At least 3 of Meghan's U-Space sponsors reportedly placed funds on hold orders pending outcomes of the legal investigation. One insider from a major clothing brand said, "We can't associate with reputational volatility. Meghan's risk profile just changed overnight. This wasn't just about Louise. It was about control." Meghan had tested the monarchy's silence. Charles, with precision and a century-old crown behind him, had finally answered. The call went out under a rare royal alert code. Triage 1C, Family Emergency Containment Priority. By early afternoon, Princess Anne, Prince William, Princess Catherine, and Duchess Sophie of Edinburgh were inside the Crimson Room at Windsor Castle. King Charles, recovering from his private morning briefing, had authorized this closed-door summit with only one line. "Sophie will lead. Her daughter is under attack. Let's give her full latitude." The atmosphere, according to sources, was emotionally charged, but strategically cold. Sophie had arrived directly from Bagshot Park with Louise, who was visibly pale and silent, shielded by palace aides, and kept far from press exposure. Princess Catherine reportedly reached across the table and placed her hand on Sophie's. "She won't be alone in this," Catherine said. "We fight as one." Then Sophie stood. The room fell silent. "She's threatening my child," Sophie said, voice steady. "That isn't PR. That isn't podcast content. That is psychological warfare, suspected." Well, unquote. At that exact hour, a new wave of British and American headlines began to hit social media. Daily Mirror insiders say Meghan threatened to leak video alleging misconduct by Louise Windsor's boyfriend, Palace furious. The Times, Windsor legal arm assembling for digital war. The Telegraph. Meghan's podcast now under legal review after threat claims emerge. BuzzFeed and Rolling Stone followed within hours, reporting that Meghan's upcoming March podcast episode would explore hidden patterns of institutional betrayal and would feature a previously unreleased video segment that was damaging to a young royal figure. Although Meghan's team refused to name Lady Louise directly, the implications were unmistakable. Felix Robert Dilver Clamp, 22, is a quietly spoken British Swiss art history graduate and Louise's longtime partner. A discreet figure. Clamp's background includes a research fellowship at the V&A Museum, ties to a mid-level European art auction house, recent vetting for royal patronage-adjacent projects. But according to MI5 media tracing analysts, a fake clip of Clamp in a compromising situation apparently filmed at a 2023 student event had been digitally altered, time-warped, and enhanced. The manipulation source, a third-party subcontractor once tied to Archwell Studios, operating under a now-dissolved LLC. This finding revealed during the Windsor summit caused what one insider called controlled fury in Princess Anne. "She wants to sell lies for attention, but she picked the wrong family," and allegedly muttered. Sophie was the one to propose a triple-layered containment plan, now being called internally the Windsor Firewall. Things were much. He staged get a respected and Steveridge's pommening preemptive legal injunctions to halt distribution of falsified media across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. A counter-narrative media drop. Catherine and Anne would quietly visit a children's hospital in Oxford the next day. Louise included to project continuity, dignity, and unity. A digital dossier code named Felix 7 containing metadata proof of fabrication submitted to 3 press watchdogs and Ofcom within 48 hours. Sophie concluded with this line. "Meghan wants shock value. Give her silence and law. Nothing starves narcissism faster." By late evening, Buckingham Palace legal counsel Sir Jonathan Wexford issued a confidential cease and desist letter to Meghan Markle's legal team in Los Angeles. Leaks suggest the letter included a full chain of custody analysis of the altered video, an invitation to settle privately or face defamation and malicious interference proceedings, a formal warning that any future targeting of minors or royal associates would invoke Section 8 protections under the UK's revised Royal Defamation Act 2024. Spotify, reportedly alarmed by the phrase fabricated sexual misconduct, immediately flagged the podcast episode for sensitive legal status. Internal Slack messages revealed staff urging a full pause on promotional content until vetting was complete. Though her team remained defiant in public, sources near Meghan suggest that she privately panicked when the Windsor summit leak hit social media. A close PR advisor reportedly told her, "If this is even half true, Spotify will bail. You'll lose the recovery arc. You said have to say go down, but we'll freeze reading." Meghan's internal Slack channels now reflect a shift toward damage control, with Archwell's content team instructed to produce legacy-affirming stories focused on motherhood, race, and philanthropy. But one UK PR strategist noted, "You don't get to pivot from sabotage to soft-focus motherhood in 24 hours. The palace isn't playing optics. They're building a legal fortress." By dawn, the royal household was already moving. While Meghan Markle's team in Los Angeles scheduled her podcast episode for internal testing set to drop officially, the British royal machine had activated Operation Blackwing, a rapid response digital campaign designed to undercut media threats before publication. The trigger, the fake video leak targeting Lady Louise's boyfriend, combined with Meghan's direct request to Princess Anne just days earlier, demands that included diplomatic passports, VIP protections, and reinstated royal privileges. She tried to use a threat to negotiate her way back into the Crown's ecosystem, one source said. Instead, she triggered a full-spectrum media firewall, $AIS. The Duchess of Cambridge's communications director, Thomas Everhart, quietly instructed a small network of verified digital influencers and royal family allies to preemptively shape the conversation online. Key hashtags launched at 8 GMT. #Rotec Louise, #Royal Integrity, #Stay with Sophie, #Digital Defamation. By 8:30 Greenwich Mean Time, Protect Louise was trending in the UK and Canada, and royal commentators like Emily Thornwell, BBC, Hugo Caro, ITV, and Nain Phillips. The Telegraph were all circulating reports that Meghan's upcoming podcast may contain falsified material involving a royal family member and irresition possible to Didessa. Royal fans flooded X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok with side-by-side comparisons of leaked footage and metadata errors. This was no leak, one digital analyst commented. This was a coordinated interception of Meghan's narrative. Just as the online backlash accelerated, corporate sponsors began pulling away from Meghan's brand. Most notably, Oasis Apparel placed her capsule collection under review and removed her imagery from their website homepage. Ritual Wellness, a supplements brand linked to Archewell's podcast team, paused their March wellness campaign. Spotify's EU team reportedly froze advertising spots for Meghan's podcast trailer, pending a review of the alleged defamation content. Multiple companies issued subtle but telling statements about their commitment to responsible media partnerships. It immunized and quote, "I will too indie." A leaked email from Spotify's UK team read, "We will not promote any episode with unresolved legal implications involving non-consenting public figures, especially minors or royal family members." At 11:45 Greenwich Mean Time, Lady Louise Windsor, accompanied by her mother, Sophie and Princess Catherine, arrived at the Oxford Royal Children's Hospital for a surprise public visit. Louise, wearing a soft blue coat, greeted pediatric cancer patients, spoke gently to families, and posed beside Sophie and Catherine for photos that quickly swept UK media. The narrative had been reclaimed. Louise was no longer the target of scandal. She was now the symbol of quiet royal strength. That night, the Daily Mail ran a front-page headline. "They stood for her. Windsor shut down smear campaign." At 14 GMT, Kensington Palace issued a rare legal notification to the press co-signed by 3 royal legal firms and reviewed by the Government Communications Headquarters GCHQ. It stated that any broadcast of manipulated content tied to Lady Louise Windsor, Felix Clamp, or their private lives would trigger full legal escalation under UK Royal Defamation Law 2024. That the palace had obtained technical proof of image falsification and metadata corruption traceable to a California-based contractor with past ties to Archewell's media department. Princess Anne and Duchess Sophie have full institutional and legal support to pursue independent action. This wasn't just a personal threat. It's now a digital security violation. One cybersecurity advisor said the Crown is treating this like attempted reputational espionage. While faced a grand in then he distorted bend. Meghan's team scrambled to control the narrative but found themselves isolated. A planned teaser clip for her podcast episode uploaded at 19 GMT received over 4,000 dislikes in the first 20 minutes and was ratioed on every platform. Comments included, "You tried to destroy a 22-year-old girl's life to get back into the royal family. You've lost the plot. Digital blackmail isn't activism. We see you, Meghan, and so does the Crown and standard very free reality." Insiders say Meghan began second-guessing the release entirely, worried that pushing forward might destroy her last remaining brand alliances. And yet, according to a Netflix insider, contractual pressure from Spotify and podcast investors is pushing Meghan to go ahead. She took the money. One executive said she has to deliver. "We are not deleting the podcast," Meghan reportedly told her legal team. "But we might be editing the hell out of it." Still, royal watchers note one dangerous truth. A redacted podcast is still a podcast, and the Crown is watching every second. Despite mounting pressure, Meghan Markle released her controversial podcast episode early under the title Royal Truths, Power, Protection, and the Price of Silence. Running 58 minutes long, the episode was promoted as a courageous re-examination of royal structures. But behind the veneer of self-empowerment, critics quickly noted the episode walked a razor's edge between victim narrative and reputational sabotage. The most chilling moment came at minute 36. Sometimes, Meghan's voice said softly, "Silence isn't protection, it's complicity, especially when young women are being protected from truths they don't know they're part of." Though she never named Lady Louise Windsor or Felix Clamp directly, the veiled reference was unmistakable and intentional. Within 20 minutes of airing, royal family lawyers filed an emergency injunction with Spotify's EU headquarters, alleging intentional reputational targeting through suggestive language and indirect narrative manipulation. By 1 GMT, the backlash had begun. The #number exploitative podcast topped trends across the UK and Canada. BBC and Sky News issued alerts, noting that the palace may pursue legal redress over suggestive podcast content. Spotify's internal legal team held an emergency meeting to determine whether the episode breached contractual goodwill clauses. Marailing was the public comment section on Meghan's official podcast page. Dragging a young woman's reputation through coded storytelling isn't journalism, it's a hit job. 90, it's second. Why does Meghan always imply and never provide proof? She doesn't name names because if she did, she'd be sued into silence. At 7 GMT, a rare joint video address was released by Princess Anne and Princess Catherine. Filmed at Windsor Castle, the two women stood shoulder to shoulder, delivering what many called the most powerful royal rebuke in decades. Princess Anne, firm as steel. When the integrity of a young woman under our protection is manipulated to serve someone else's redemption arc, we are duty-bound to respond not with spectacle, but with truth. Princess Catherine followed with calm resolve. Lady Louise Windsor is not a plot point. She is not a pawn, and she is not afraid. Within the hour, all major UK newspapers ran the image of Anne and Catherine together, an institutional rebuke framed as maternal protection. That same afternoon, Duchess Sophie appeared on ITV's Afternoon Outlook to speak not just as a royal, but as a mother. Her voice wavered slightly at first, but grew firm. There is a line between media freedom and personal cruelty. That line was crossed today. Sophie confirmed that Louise had viewed the podcast and was hurt, but not shaken, and emphasized that the family stood united behind her. She ended with a quiet, powerful line: "You don't become a royal by marrying one. You become a royal by defending one." At 16:45 Greenwich Mean Time, Buckingham Palace released a forensic report conducted by a third-party digital media lab in Brussels. The analysis confirmed the alleged video of Felix Clamp was 99.2% likely to be a deepfake generated using altered footage from a 2024 charity gala. The audio layer had been synthesized using AI voice cloning technology. The metadata showed evidence of manipulation on the 22nd of January, 2026, just 3 days before Meghan's initial request to Princess Anne. This wasn't journalism, the report concluded. It was an engineered slander. In a striking turnaround, Lady Louise Windsor made a public appearance at the Royal College of St. George, delivering a keynote on ethics, identity, and modern nobility. Her speech included this line: "Your name is not what others whisper about you. It's what you speak when they try to silence you." The room erupted in a standing ovation. Media outlets around the world from Lyon to the New York Times published op-eds titled "The Making of a Royal." Louise Windsor steps forward. Dignity in the face of manipulation. On March 6, Spotify issued a partial retraction and content advisory on Meghan's episode. A statement read, "Following feedback and legal correspondence, Episode 1 of The Real Narrative will now include a disclaimer and audio edit removing potentially defamatory inferences." Insiders report Meghan is furious but bound by the clause and is now reviewing her multi-show contract. One producer stated off record, "She played the royal card one too many times. Now she's finding the deck was rigged against her." Is Belfour? Though Meghan's brand took a severe blow, royal watchers say the more enduring story is what came next. The palace announced, Lady Louise Windsor is to receive her first full-time royal patronage focused on youth media ethics and digital security. Felix Clamp, cleared of all rumors, will co-host a summit on AI and reputational safety in May. And as for Princess Anne, she ended her public comments with a line now etched into the public imagination: "We didn't just defend a name.